Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Money in the Law on My FM 101.3 and also on the Hollison Cable Access Television.
Oh, yeah.
I'm here with my partner, my host, my dear friend, my selectman in my town, my senior selectman in my town, none other than Attorney Jay Marsden. I'm John Drohan, and of course we're joined by our dearly beloved friend, Christian Bidet, who represents Hollison Cable.
Dearly beloved. That's
dearly
quite
beloved.
the intro. Dearly beloved.
I actually was listening.
Gathered here today.
I was listening to Prince on the way in, so that was dearly beloved.
Nice.
I got
That's
that,
right.
So.
Yep.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. It hasn't snowed yet, which is good. Supposed to be this weekend. We could get a little bit of precipitation.
I mean,
but I'm holding on with that. Well, you get no snow on the ground. Pats are knocking it out of the park, right? No complaints there. That game last week.
Are we going to talk about sports? Are we going to
flawless? Brady looked 28.
It always cracks me up because I always feel like you don't want to talk about sports, but then I think secretly you like it.
Secretly,
I think secretly behind you're like put the game on.
No, I like sports. I don't have any Boston sports tattoos.
No,
I don't wear it on my sleeve.
You're not a Bruins. You have a Bruins tattoo on your left calf.
I was at the beach one time, and I'm standing around talking. We just chit chat with some guy. He's standing around watching the kids. The kids are playing, right? The kids are little, and the kids are playing in the water, and making small talk with this guy. He's watching his kid, and I said, "Where you from?" He says, "Oh, I'm from New York. Where you from?" I said, "Oh, Boston." He said, "Oh, I'm almost surprised you're from Boston." I says, "Why?" He says, "Well, because you don't have a Red Sox baseball cap on, with the Patriots jersey, with your Bruins shorts, and then a pair of Celtics flip-flops." I said, "That's a good point. Excellent. I appreciate that."
And a tattoo.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
one of those four logos tattooed somewhere, usually on your legs.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to put up on my arm. That's
I get Larry Bird, Robert Parrish, and Kevin McHale across the back, and then when I flex, it looks like they're rebounding, right? I've done that,
right.
And then so we had a conversation, and we were talking sports, and I was talking about the greatness that back in the day, and how you have to represent, you got to recognize that the Yankees have a phenomenal organization. They put together and we're having this conversation. He's like, "I don't think I've ever talked to anybody from Boston about sports like this."
Yeah.
Usually it's just
shut up.
Usually it just disintegrates into Yankees this, Yankees that. I'm like, no, hey, great organization, Steinbrenner family, puts the whole thing together, blah blah blah. It was this nice, very interesting conversation, and he was very appreciative of all the success that the Boston sports,
which all this proves is that, and I'm not saying this in a derogatory way.
No, I'm sure
you're not a real Boston fan, and any true Boston fan will look at you and be like, "Who is that? Go move to New York."
Right.
Yeah,
get
out of here.
That's right.
Yeah.
You fair weather
get your
fan.
Starbucks
What do you
and go
know?
move to New York.
You and your diplomacy.
Yeah, right.
Get out of here.
Yeah, you like that? You like the Yankees? Yeah, that's your team.
You should have told the Birds are greatest. You should have punched that guy in the face and run down the
team?
beach.
Yeah, you like them?
Yeah. So, very good.
You probably root for the Jets too.
Yeah, that's right. Driving down there, Foxborough, to go to your games.
Well, so I'm with you. If we're going to talk sports, I go the whole show.
Throw a couple minutes in the beginning.
So because I'm originally from New York, right,
sure,
and I grew up a Yankees fan. I grew up, and of course, I'm still a New York Giants fan. But all those were my teams, my New York teams.
Yeah.
So from the New York perspective, and this is what and now I'm just for the record, I am a converted Red Sox fan.
Nice.
I don't hate the Yankees, but I will always root for the Red Sox over the Yankees.
Agreed. But you can see an organization, you can see the success that they've put together, and you can say, what an unbelievable organization.
Well, yeah,
right?
and I like them, and I know them too,
Yeah.
right? So in fact, one of my former clients who has passed away is the great Frank Malzone, third baseman in the '50s for the Boston Red Sox. You know what Frank Malzone told me? He said, "You know who my best friends were in the league? Were the Yankees. Like they were all like Italian guys, and
let's all admit they like to party. Let's all admit, back in the day, they like to party, right?"
He goes, "I got along with Phil Rizzuto, Mickey Mantle, Billy Martin." He goes, "All those guys, when they would come to town, we were friends."
Yeah.
And he said that's how pretty much the league was. As as players, we didn't hate each other.
Yeah, we want to win.
Yeah, of course. But if a pitcher throws at my head, that could change things, right?
That's right.
If he hits me, if he doesn't, then he's sorry.
Yep, game changer. But like you said, have those conversations. You want to talk about who's the greatest hitter that ever lived? Ted Williams all day long, right? I'll have that conversation all day long. Larry Bird, better than we can have all of those conversations. We can talk about this team versus. I'll have those conversations. but I can also do it and respect what other organizations build.
Well, you know, the guy who kind of in the modern era, because you can go back to like when we were kids and we first started following. I can remember when I first started following sports, like the Yankees, the '70s Yankees, like the Reggie Jackson Yankees, and the problem, the biggest reason why the Red Sox hated the Yankees, like the fans hated the Yankees, is because the Red Sox never won.
That's right.
They never won. So when Reggie Jackson hits like 3 home runs, you're like, and you know, Reggie Jackson was a showboat, and of course he was. Right? And Billy Martin was a pain in the butt, right? They were all. That was their team.
They were
right?
characters. Of course they were.
Yeah. So, but the problem was that the Red Sox never could overcome that.
No.
They never. So kind of, and so what I was going to say is kind of in the modern era, in our modern era, of course the Red Sox won in 04, and that changed the kind of everybody's like, you know, the burden was lifted.
Let's a lot of air out of the balloon, right?
Yeah.
Everybody can be like, all right, now we feel a little bit better about maybe somebody winning because we've had our chance.
But here's the guy who changed the whole like Red Sox change, because even then, you know up to 04 the Red Sox, 03 the Red Sox lost the Yankees, walk off, the Boone home run, but the guy who changed it all was Jeter. Because you, as a Red Sox fan, you couldn't sit there and say, I hate Derek Jeter, because you can't hate him, right? You can't, and I would always say that. People would be like, I hate Jeter. Jeter's he's a punk, right? I'd be like, if Derek Jeter were standing right here, right now, you would do nothing more than just sit here and drool out of the side of your mouth and say, can I please have your autograph, Mr.
Mr. Jeter, can I get you something else? Yeah, that's right.
But that's the thing about Jeter is he was such a class act.
Yeah.
And was such a class act when he played. And it's not like Jeter didn't want to win. Jeter wanted to win as much as everybody else, and he played the game as hard as anybody else. But you were like, you can't not like that guy.
That's right. And to your point, that's a throwback to an earlier era where everybody understood that people were talented. This guy's a great ball player, and we're going to play against him. We want to win. And it's just this idea of you automatically just can't even acknowledge for 1 second that there might have been a modicum of success in the particular way that they put a team together. And teams today, right? You don't get the dynasties like you used to get. So you really got to. We saw Lou Gorman do it when he was alive, when he had written a book about the '86 series, and he was explaining to us what it was like trying to put that team together. And to hear people talk about, we're trying to win a championship this year, right? That's what we're trying to do. So we're trying to horse trade players, and you've got a couple of people, and we think that again, these are all tremendous athletes, right? And so now you have to figure out of all the tremendous athletes that I could potentially, which ones, we can't get all the great ones on one team, right? It doesn't always work that way. So we're trying to figure out, who does somebody have over there that might work in our system better? That's right. They got to work. They got to work with. They got to complement our other guys, right? That's right. And they're still a great ball player, but for some reason they don't work as well here. They work someplace else. So putting all that together,
and then the money aspect of it. Right? I can't. I'd love to have you, but I can't afford you because
with the objective of just trying to win this year, right? There's no guarantee. Everyone's not trying to build some stable farm system that may, in 15 years, get them to the promised land. It doesn't work like that. They're trying to win now.
In any sport, right? And especially in the free agency world now, it just, in football, you can't do it because guys, the careers are so short. You get one injury and it could change your whole team, right? In basketball, you can't do it because because there's so much horse trading that happens in basketball. Like every year, all the teams are different.
And the money issues and how was your team performing, and now you putting people in the seats. Are you selling merchandising?
And baseball, is the same thing. Baseball's the same. Like there's guys change teams. And think about these journeymen that have played in 5, 6, 7 different teams.
Well, but think about the guys who move from team to team and carry these giant contracts, and some teams still paying his contract because he's not even playing anymore. That's right. So he's moved over here and he's getting some of his money from these guys and some of his money. So just the idea that you can sort of appreciate, pulling all of this together, it's unbelievable. And then before we get off the sports topic, I just asked the question: Have you seen? This was on last week, and it caught my. That's why it's on the top of my mind.
Have you seen Swift concert?
Not the Taylor Swift concert. Have you seen I think it was on ESPN. The documentary about the '86 Celtics?
No. No.
Let me tell you right now. You have to go look for this documentary on the '80s. It was on that season and what it was like for them and how they were just bulletproof.
I've seen like the I actually, wait a minute. I think I did see a part of that because I was going to say I saw some other thing where it was right, and they kind of went through the games. They went through through all like
the whole season. Chronologically, the whole season.
They
broke down their ability to pass, and they showed like a clip of just passing.
Yep.
And they just said they just passed on teams until teams just had nothing left in the tank. Like, how do we even defend this? I mean, it was ridiculous. And the conversation about Auerbach and Walton coming to the team and leaving the Clippers, and I mean just that whole. And then when they lost, I think it was the game against one of the games against Houston at the end that they lost that they thought they were supposed to win.
Right.
And so they come back to Boston and they would practice, and in 10 minutes. Casey Jones is like, okay, all right, everybody, we're good. You guys are ready.
Yeah.
Let's all stop killing each other because you're so mad, right? So let's all go home. Let's channel that energy, right? And
it was Bird. It was Bird. Bird was the catalyst behind that whole thing. There's nobody. I mean, that was the thing. And someone had brought up the point about Bird didn't want to win. He wanted you to lose.
Oh yeah.
He enjoyed watching you lose and feel the loss of his defeat as much as he did winning himself.
Oh, they focus on. A lot of people forget about this. I had forgotten about it. They focus on the game where he says, you know what? I'm going to play this game tonight, and I'm going to shoot every shot with my left hand.
Yeah.
Right? I just need a challenge, kind of keep myself in the game a little bit, kind of work myself up.
I'm work
every single shot in the game, left-handed, and he's making them left and right. Not even right, just left. Boom, dropping them all over the place.
Left, not right.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, find it, track it down. I don't know if it's a YouTube, I don't know, whatever it is. Find this thing. It's a phenomenal. We talk about Boston sports. You want to talk about a moment in time? Oh my God, it is tremendous. Tremendous.
You know what?
And that's it. That's as far as I'm going.
Little did you know that on Saturday morning you would get sports talk. Finally, I mean, for 5.5 years.
There was some money in there. They were talking about money.
5.5 years I wanted to do sports talk, and I could go for the rest of it. I mean, if you want to talk about like the legalities of sports or the money of sports, do it on your own time. We're going to talk about it. The 86 Celtics. Yeah,
all day long. All day long.
The Chief and Kevin. Right, because you think about now, you talk about, we were talking about like that throwback time and how, because that 86 Celtics team, that was the team that Boston grabbed onto.
Oh.
They were the golden children of Boston. And it wasn't just the 86, because the Celtics were the team that won, right?
Yep.
The Red Sox didn't win. The Bruins won, right? The Bruins won, but the Bruins were hockey, and unless you were a hockey person, you didn't really notice. And the Patriots sucked.
Yeah.
The Patriots were they were awful. Now, granted, they did go to the Super Bowl.
That's right. They talk about that. There's a little bit of talking about that. Yeah.
They actually went to the Super Bowl
Scored first
and got annihilated, right? But they weren't this paid. They weren't this.
They weren't the dynasty that they are today. That's right.
Guys.
That's right.
So it's funny. Like we said, like people would talk about and you couldn't say about like who's better. If you said who's better, Magic Johnson or Larry Bird, you get slapped in the face if you didn't say right.
Yeah, that's right. That's when the gloves came off, right?
Yeah. And it's almost so again, once the Red Sox won, that kind of went away. The Red Sox, there wasn't like the Red Sox venom. The Celtics, that venom went away. Even when they came back, when everybody knew that they weren't the best team, and that they didn't have the best player. But the Patriots, we're here. Because say something bad about Tom Brady. No. Say something bad about Bill Belichick.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
And what? Say something bad about Julian Edelman.
Talking about get your table overturned at a restaurant, right?
What are you
Walking out.
Wait. What are you talking about?
This marriage is over.
That's right.
We're done. We're done.
So, well, we have to go to a quick break. We'll be back with sports talk. But actually, what did you want to talk about today?
Sports talk and the law?
Yeah, sports talk and the law.
Yeah. Whatever. First of the year, we can talk about all day long. All right, go ahead.
I know what I want to talk about.
All right.
You know what?
After the break, save it. After the break,
I'm going to tease you.
Keep the mystery.
This is a special year, and we'll tell you what it is when we come back on My FM 101.3, Money
and the Law.
Here, we'll be right back.
We should do that all the time.
What's that? And we're back here on Money
and the Law. We're trying. That's new. We just thought of that 5 seconds ago.
Yeah, we did. Jay's had a good. Hey, listen. Why don't we do that? Why don't we implement that?
Why don't you announce the money part, and I'll announce the law part?
Anytime you say money, or want to say money, I'm going to point to you. Right? It's like that's your cue.
Yeah, you're back with money. Go. Try it again.
Well, you just took my line.
Well, do it again. You're back with.
You're back with money
and the law. Huh? I like it. 2019. That's our new tagline.
We'll say it needs work.
Going to work on the timing.
All right.
Work on the timing.
So what year is this? It's 2019. You know what year it is at Main Effort Financial and Money in the Law. I'm going to go ahead and bring you in on this.
Bring it in.
You know what year it is?
No.
It's the year of the Roth.
Oh, you were talking about that before.
I know, but I want to bring it back. We need to talk about it. We need to talk about the Roth IRA and what it can do. We can talk about this. We talk about the why somebody has a Roth, why you need that Roth IRA, or why, and if you can do it and it fits into your plan, how much of an advantage it can make for you.
How awesome it is.
It is.
Let's really talk about
it
that.
Is, and
that's the word to use. There's no other word.
Well, so I'm going to throw out some ideas of some things that you can use, because there are some aspects, there's some hidden gems in the Roth IRA that people don't really know about, or many people don't know about.
Sure.
And it allows you to do things with the Roth that the flexibility of it is incredible, and from a tax saving perspective, from a tax on the other end, when you start to take withdrawals from the fact that you don't have to take money out of it at age 70 and a half, from the fact that you can now have access to a Roth IRA in your most of the 401ks today. You have the capability to use a Roth IRA. So what I like to do is kind of talk about just some of the kind of the thoughts behind when I would use a Roth, why I would, why I wouldn't, because it doesn't make sense for everybody.
Nope,
particularly the Roth 401k. But I want to talk about some of the nuances of the Roth IRA today.
All right. So why don't we start that off by giving a 30,000 foot overview when we say Roth? People don't think we're talking about the great Tim Roth, the actor from Reservoir Dogs.
Which I just was talking. Oh my God! Why did you do that to me?
Huh?
Why did you do that? Because you know why? We're going to go on a little extension, or what is that called? A digression here. So last night, you know what song comes on? Steel Wheels. I know I can be here tonight.
Don't.
You know?
No, I don't know, but don't do that. Go ahead.
But you know that, right?
Right.
So, Stuck in the Middle with You.
Got it.
You know the song, right?
Yeah, I do.
So, and of course, we're referring to the movie Reservoir Dogs.
Yep.
So, remember the scene in Reservoir Dogs?
The great scene.
The unforgettable Michael Mann scene where he is listening to that song.
Michael Madsen dancing around.
Madsen, right? He's dancing around. Listen to that song. He's got Tim Roth, who's dying on the ground. He thinks Tim Roth's dead, but he's not. And of course, that song's playing now. And I'm explaining to Chloe and Haley last night. I'm like, that song came out. I'm like, wait a minute. You guys have ever seen Reservoir Dogs? Once you see Reservoir Dogs, it changes, because this is like a cool, just
it changes the song.
Every time you hear that song, right?
It adds a degree of darkness to that song. That's right.
As dark as you can imagine.
That's exactly right.
As dark, and it's
exactly
funny. So
right.
you brought that up when you mentioned Tim Roth. So no, we're not talking about Tim Roth, who actually had a pivotal role in that scene particularly. No, we're talking about the Roth IRA.
Okay.
So the Roth IRA, which came into being in 1978, is when the first Roth IRA showed up. And what it is before we had the traditional an individual retirement account. That's what IRA stands for. So the traditional individual retirement account allowed someone like me or like Jay or like you or like Christian or anybody that we could, as long as we had earned income, we could invest that earned income in a tax-friendly way. So meaning that I could put money into it. Back then, the limit was $2,000. I could put $2,000 into this $2,000 per year into this individual retirement account. And what it would allow me to do is I could then deduct that $2,000 from my income, provided that I met all the requirements. So that means I would pay taxes on $2,000 less of income because I was able to deduct that from my income. And once it went into this IRA, as long as it stayed in there, any gains that I had inside of that,
all your growth,
that would all grow, and I wouldn't pay taxes on that growth.
Right. The theory behind it being you get more of your money going to work. The taxes aren't doing it. So when you do the compounding over 20 years and you do compounding with no taxes versus taxes, you end up with obviously a much bigger pile of money at the end.
Yeah. Now, on the other end is when I go to take this money out. The issue is that, remember, I've never been taxed on that money before.
So somebody comes looking. Is that what you're saying?
One of your uncles,
someone's hand is out.
Your uncle's hand.
Yep.
Your uncle Samuel.
Yep.
So he comes out and he says, "Okay, now you have to pay taxes on not only everything that you put in, because remember you've never paid taxes on that money yet, but you're also going to pay taxes on your gains. So
Right. I let you skate for 50 years, and now you got to pay the piper.
Anything that comes out of that account, you're paying taxes on. So 1978. The Roth IRA is introduced, and what the Roth IRA is said, okay, here's the deal. We're not going to give you that tax break on the front end. We're going to say the same thing. Okay, $2,000. You can put $2,000 into this IRA, but you got to pay taxes on that money. In other words, you can't deduct that from your income. So that's after-tax money. $2,000 goes into that account.
Write the check.
Yep, and it goes in, and then now. Here's the benefit. Because we want it to be a retirement account, because we're encouraging people to save for their retirement, we're going to give you the tax benefit and say, hey, you can, all the money that you earn inside here, just like in a traditional IRA, any money that you earn, any gains that you have, you're not going to pay taxes on them. All right, and they're tax deferred, and you're like, great, they're tax deferred.
Yep.
And then,
same as before. I pay no taxes.
Yeah,
this is great.
So as long as I meet all the requirements, come 59 and a half, that's the magic year. 59 and a half is that's when I can start taking money out without a penalty,
yep.
right?
Yep.
And I can take that money out, and when I go to take that money out, remember, I've already paid taxes on the money coming in. So, but the coup de grace of this is that all the gains that I've had, all the gains that I haven't paid taxes on, I don't have to pay taxes on those.
Get out.
Yeah, that was it. So that's the beauty of the Roth. So once you start to draw money from the Roth IRA, everything you get, as long as it's qualified, as long as they're qualified withdrawals, everything that you have is tax free. Okay,
that is
one more.
Almost.
All right. So this is and most people know that. Most people that are familiar with the Roth IRA know that. The other thing that most people know is that in a traditional IRA or in a retirement plan, if you're no longer working, at age 70 and a half, right, and this is in these pre-tax plans, at age 70 and a half, the year you turn 70 and a half, you have to start taking money out. You have to start taking what's called your required minimum distribution or your minimum required distribution if you're an old Fidelity guy.
Yeah.
And so you have to start taking money out, and now you have to take it all out, but you have to, based on your life expectancy, there's a formula, and that you'll take out a portion of your IRA. Roth IRA, no RMD. No required minimum distribution.
Let it ride.
Yep. So if you don't need the money, you don't have to take it. And remember, as long as it's in that Roth IRA, any gains that you have, you're not paying taxes on it. You're not taxed. Where if I was in a non-IRA or a non-retirement account, like a brokerage account or a traditional account, individual or joint account, any gains that I have to pay taxes on those. So there you go. There's your Roth IRA. Everybody say, wow, this is a great idea. I get it. I don't get that tax benefit early on.
So I have a question for you.
Oh.
So what if you were an early adopter to this IRA concept, okay? So you have retirement money. It's been in this, we'll call it the traditional IRA. Somewhere down the road, somebody stumbles into you at a barbecue in the year of the Roth, right? And you're talking about how Roth this, Roth that, Roth this, Roth that, right? And somebody says, but John, I appreciate that. That's great. Can I get you another beer? And when I come back with your beer, I have a question. I already have a retirement account. I wasn't a Rother.
The answer to your question is yes.
Yeah, I didn't Roth it up, but I have a question. Is it too late for me? Can I do anything with because I like this Roth idea, but I wish I was on that path instead of this path. Help me out here.
Okay.
Walk me through it.
So what Jay is referring to is the ability to convert a traditional IRA to a Roth. And
well said.
Yeah, and well said, and I'm glad you brought that up. Now, before we go into that, we have to talk about some of the limitations of the Roth, some of the restrictions of the Roth. So because that will help answer your question, because it used to be people would say, hey, I want to convert my traditional to a Roth IRA. And then you'd say, well, how much money do you make? And they'd say, well, I make $150,000 a year. And you'd be like, you can't do it.
Right.
You can't do it. Because what happens with a Roth IRA is you have an income limit. All right. So
just for the novice Roth individual, what you're saying is, before you lay out the guidelines, what you're saying is, if you had done this, if you had money in a traditional IRA and you wanted to make it a Roth because you like the Roth options better, how do you get there? This is the path of how you get there.
Yeah.
You're saying there's limitations to basically being able to say, I want to change the characteristics of this.
Yeah, there were limitations.
Ah, okay.
All right, so I don't want to confuse the two. So I want to talk about the limitations of the Roth, and then I'm going to come back to the conversion
let's
piece.
do it.
So when the Roth IRA first came out, everybody said, "This is the greatest thing since sliced bread. I want to do it. I want to do it. I want to do it." And but there are some limitations to the Roth, which by meaning that there are income limitations,
Sure.
which means that if I make too much money, I can't contribute to a Roth IRA. So back then, I forget what when it first started, what the limitations were now,
right.
but I know what they are too. So for 2019, so you think, oh, I love this Roth IRA thing. You may not be able to do it because you may make too much money. They're not giving this to everybody. They're not giving this to the rich people of the George Steinbrenners or Donald Trumps of the world. So for now, so if you're an individual, for an individual in 2019, if you make more than $122,000, you cannot contribute to a Roth IRA.
Done. Door closed.
If you're filing jointly, you make $189,000, you can't contribute to a Roth IRA.
Door closed.
All right. So if you're, as long as your income limits are under those two, whether
Sure.
you're jointly or filing singly, then you can then you can have a Roth IRA. Now that means if you have a 401k, doesn't matter. You can have a 401k and a Roth IRA.
Yep.
Now, let's say you had a traditional IRA. All right. So if you have a traditional IRA and say, wait, I like this Roth IRA, but I like my traditional IRA too, great. You can have both of them. However, the issue is that whether you're contributing to a traditional IRA or to a Roth, this is another limitation on IRAs in general, is I can only contribute so much. And if I can't, so the limit for 2019 is I can contribute $6,000 to an IRA or $6,000 to a Roth or a combination of both.
Okay.
But I can only contribute $6,000.
Catch-up provision?
Catch-up provision is $1,000, so I can kick in.
Got
So catch-up, if you're over the age of 50.
Which, unfortunately, both of us now are.
I mean, I'm over the age of 50. Yeah, keep talking. You're catching up. Don't worry. Yeah, you're
I
going to
qualify for the catch-up.
You're going to be there. Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah, you're almost there. You're almost as old as me.
Yeah.
So
you get the ability to catch up on your IRAs and you get your AARP card at the same time.
yes,
it's a
you
real
do.
win. It's a win.
Yeah, it's a home run.
Yep.
But the issue is that you have so I can contribute to both, but the max I can do is $6,000 or 7 with the catch-up. Okay. So now here I am. I have my Roth IRA, and you brought up the point of if I want to convert my Roth, if I want to convert a traditional IRA.
Let's take a quick break, and then we'll talk conversion.
I take a quick.
Huh? How about that? I know you're on a roll. I like to slow you down a little bit. You get too far off the leash, it gets a little crazy.
All right. We'll be all right.
Rein you in.
We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about Roth IRA conversions when we come back on money
and the law. How great was that?
With Jay Marsden and John Drouin, and of course on Holliston Cable Access TV as well.
I love that.
We'll be right back.
And we're back with
money
and the law. You're supposed to jump in there. Come on. Money and the Law, My FM 101.3.
Give me another shot. Give me a shot.
Jay Marsden, Marsden Law Group. John Drohan, Main FM Financial.
Try it again.
Christian Min in the
rehearse
car.
it
Here on
money
and the law.
Yeah.
There we go. It's much better. All right. 2009. I love it. 2019. I love it.
2009. God, it feels like 2009.
Yeah.
Right?
I feel like I'm 40. Yep.
Yeah.
That's right. Yep. So we're talking Roth IRAs, talking conversion features, and we're talking about limitations, and we're talking about what your options are in terms of getting it set up and what the impact would be of having one and not having to pay the piper.
All right. So Jay brought up the idea of when people said, okay, I didn't do a Roth IRA, but there was the ability to convert a Roth or a traditional IRA to a Roth.
Yes.
And so here's how that works. And you can do it. You can do it. And before, remember I talked about earlier in the earlier segment, we talked about the income limits.
Yep.
So the way it works is, let's say you have $50,000 in an IRA, and you say, I want to convert that to a Roth IRA. Remember, that $50,000 has never been taxed. That $50,000 is going to be treated as income for tax purposes. So in other words, if I'm converting
when you take it out,
when I convert it to a Roth,
right.
Okay. So I'm taking it out of the traditional IRA and I'm putting it into a Roth. So it's coming out.
Yep.
And it's going into a Roth IRA. So for tax purposes, it will be as if I earned another $50,000 in income.
Yeah.
All right. So if I make $100,000, now I make $150,000. I pay taxes on that money. I pay taxes on $150,000, and then I can take that same $50,000, put into a Roth IRA, and guess what? Now it's a Roth, and the Roth is
Now the Roth rules apply.
The Roth is off and running, right?
Right.
And then I can, and as long as I meet the income requirements, I can contribute to it. Now,
But so the 50 is treated as ordinary income to you.
Yep.
So whatever you made on your own, whatever your W-2 says, add 50 to that,
Yeah.
and that's your number, right? You had to kill a year. Well, I did, but 50,000 of it was my Roth conversion.
So here's the cool thing. So
Okay.
it used to be that conversion was subject to income limits. So it used to be that, hey, if I got $200,000 in my traditional IRA, I want to convert that to Roth. Now you can't do that because you're going to be over the income
Right,
limit. You're going to
right.
be over the income limit to be able to have a Roth IRA. That was good. That has now gone away. So now, doesn't matter how much money you make, you can convert a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA. You can make $1 million. If you have $1 million in a traditional IRA, guess what? I can convert that to a Roth. I will get pay
a
taxes.
gigantic tax bill.
Yes, I will.
Yep.
But I'll pay taxes on that $1 million now, and then convert. Now, why might somebody do that? Why might somebody convert a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA, knowing that they're going to pay the tax bill? What's your
Well, I have a question,
theory?
but go ahead. I'm going to let you do that. I have a question I want to ask about the tax bill, but go ahead.
Okay, so when someone says to me, "Hey, well, why would I do that?" Well, think about it. When you're in your earning years, when you're in kind of your primary earning years. Now, granted, the idea of maybe down the road when I'm retired, I might be in a lower tax bracket.
Sure.
This is true. It potentially could be. It could not be. But when I'm in my earning years, if I'm going to be able to pay taxes, this is the time to pay them because I have more options, I have more income capabilities, and I can afford it. So if this is the time to do it, if you're going to convert, this might be the time to do it. Now here is one important thing about converting a Roth IRA. Remember, let's say the traditional IRA it's got a considerable amount of money. Let's say it's got $100,000 and I want to convert it. Remember, there's no income limit.
Yep.
I can do it.
Flip
right?
it over. Yep.
I can do it. However, I got to pay taxes on that money, right? I can pay taxes. Now, can I use the money that's inside my traditional IRA?
Oh, that was the question. That's where I was going.
Oh.
Where I was going was what you used to see a lot is people in an attempt or in a rush to take advantage of all this Roth opportunity that you're talking about.
You know what?
Right?
When you say you're the law, you're not just the law.
No, I know.
You're not.
I know. But that's exactly what would happen, right? People maybe not necessarily think it all the way through. They would do the conversion in an attempt to get this thing into the Roth,
Yeah.
and then they get stuck with the tax bill, and then they maybe can't pay the tax bill, right? And whatever the number looks like, just make it up. So let's say it's 10 grand, and they don't have 10 grand. They either don't have it saved or they just don't have it available. So to your point, where do they go for the 10 grand, right?
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I think your answer is going to be the same as my answer. They go to the IRA.
Yeah, but
and
what
then
happens?
they end up taking an early penalty on the 10,000.
It's like you studied for the
right?
quiz. It's like
So that's always the question. That anytime you're having these Roth conversion conversations, the big question is not do you want to do it for all the right reasons that you've just very eloquently laid out. It makes sense for folks, and you always talk about it with your advisor. But how are you going to pay the taxes?
Yeah, you got to be able to pay the
That's right,
taxes.
that's
and
right.
if you're under the age of 59 and a half and you've had the Roth IRA for less than 5 years, any money you take out of it, like when you do the conversion, if you do the conversion and then say, oh, I'm going to take some of that money that I just converted to help pay my tax bill,
Yep.
it's an early withdrawal penalty. Early withdrawal penalty is just like Jay said, 10% penalty. 10% penalty on the money that is going
take
to
out.
be on the money that is going to be taxed.
So you need 10 grand. It's going to cost you $1,000 to get you 10 grand, right? So now you're taking 11. It's going to cost you 1,100 to get you, and this spirals up from there. But that's a big consideration because a lot of folks think in an attempt to just push the Roth concept, that's what ends up happening. Because your retirement account is your biggest asset, they end up saying, well, I'll take the money out of my retirement account to pay the taxes. So you're quadruple, whatever, quintuple dipping on all these things, and it eventually catches up with you.
Right. So and if you don't want to take money out of your, most of the time you don't want to take money out of your retirement account if you don't have to.
That's right.
Until it's time for retirement. We're trying it's kind of like a put and keep. We want to keep that there for retirement, and try not to go into it if we don't have to, or if there's no reason for us to do it, or if there's no emergency for us to do it. So I want to go back to the early withdrawal. All right, I want to go back because this is an important thing to understand with the Roth IRA, and with with traditional IRAs, it doesn't really apply so much because all of that money, we're going to talk about the taxation of it, all the taxation of a traditional IRA. Remember, if it's pre-tax money, pre-tax gains, everything that comes out, I'm paying income tax on.
Yep.
Tax is income. Now, with the Roth IRA, it's different. So remember, we said as long as it's a qualified withdrawal, which means as long as I've met all the requirements to have it be, and we're going to go through them. If I've met those requirements, when I take the money out, it's tax-free. If I don't meet those requirements, I'm going to owe tax, right? I'm going to owe tax on the Roth IRA. Now, am I going to pay taxes on? Do I pay taxes on the principal that I put in? Right. Remember, I've already paid taxes
on the return of your own capital.
So in other words, if I've put in, let's say I put in $30,000 into a Roth IRA and it's worth $60,000, that means I have $30,000 that I've put in that I've already paid taxes on, and then I have $30,000 of gains. All right. So if I'm taking non-qualified withdrawal, the formula of the non-qualified withdrawal is last in, first out. So last in would be the gains, first in would be what I put in. So when I pay, if I'm going to pay the 10% penalty on that early withdrawal, I'm paying the 10% penalty on everything that comes out because I'm violating that.
Yeah, it's all untaxed money.
Exactly. So I'm going to pay the 10% penalty on the gains that I've had, and that's that's the first thing that's coming out in a non-qualified withdrawal.
Now, and this idea, by the way, because what you focus on here is this idea that you put the money, taking the money from your retirement account, you're putting it in another retirement account. You're prepaying the taxes, and then all the growth afterward is tax-free, and then your withdrawals are tax-free, or tax-deferred, and your withdrawals are tax-free. So this is going to sound insane, but I'm going to say it anyway. When you're working with somebody like the folks at Main Effort, when things happen in the market, and it's always a fluid situation, these can somehow or sometimes be seen as planning opportunities.
Sure.
Right? Because somebody comes along and says, I have a retirement account. John talked to me about this Roth idea. I thought it was a great idea, and I didn't really want to do it, or I couldn't come up with the money to pay the taxes, or I couldn't come up with as much of the money as I thought to pay the taxes. And then the market falls apart for some reason, right? And then there's potentially an opportunity to go in there and say, well, let's revisit this because you were going to Roth a $200,000 IRA a year ago. The market's tanked. Now you're Rothing a $100,000 IRA.
Rothing it.
Right?
It's a verb.
The taxes are going to be less, and all you're going to do is take that money out, and you're going to put it right back to work, right?
Yeah.
It's going to go right back into the same things it was in your regular IRA, and if the market goes back up, all those gains. So again, if you can come up with some tax money, there may be scenarios where when everybody else thinks the sky is falling, there could be a planning opportunity.
That is the silver lining playbook that Jay has opened up. That he
we like to do that.
Yeah.
The market's crashing. Well, we've
great
talked about
opportunity.
Rothing. We've talked about Roth.
Let's
right?
do it.
This could be an opportunity, right? So
the idea of the conversion, does it apply to everybody? No, because as we've already mentioned, there's a lot of things to take into consideration. There's the taxation, there's the ability to pay the tax. There's also benefits to having a traditional IRA, right?
Sure.
The traditional IRA, if you're truly going to be in a lower tax bracket, the traditional IRA there's more money in it, right? Because if I pay the taxes on it, then then that money or somewhere it's got to come from somewhere. So it's going to cost me money from my overall war chest to convert that to a Roth IRA.
That's right.
So the idea, so it's not something we're saying just do it because you can, because the law allows you to do it.
Yeah, you need to think a couple of moves ahead.
It needs to be part of your overall plan. All right, so why might it be part of your overall plan? Let's talk about this. So the other part of this is let's talk about some of the qualifications. So a Roth IRA, remember, there's some rules to it. The first rule is that if I want to take money out of a Roth IRA, let's say I'm 58 years old and I say, I'm going to start a Roth IRA. Remember, 59 and a half, that's the IRA year. But with a Roth IRA, you have to have had a Roth IRA for 5 years before you can take money out of it. All right? So that means, if I have it for 59, I'm 58. At 59 and a half, I meet the age requirement. I meet the minimum age requirement. However, if I take any of my gains out of that account, then I'm going to pay the 10% penalty because I haven't met the 5-year minimum rule. So I have to have the Roth for 5 years.
So you tell people tie money up in a retirement account anyway, and oh, by the way, we're putting an extra padlock on your account. Yeah. Settle down, 5 years.
All right. So here's the rule with the Roth IRA that many people don't know and truly don't understand. So remember we talked about how the Roth IRA, it's after-tax money.
Yep.
All right. So and again, we're not saying that your Roth IRA just became a bank account,
right.
but you have access to your Roth IRA right now. If you're under the age of 59 and a half, if you've had it for less than 5 years, you have access to your Roth IRA. You have access to your principal. So here's how it works. Any money that I put into my Roth IRA is considered principal. Any of my gains are gains. So I can always have the ability to take my principal out of the Roth IRA without penalty and without tax because I've already paid taxes on it. So one of the planning techniques is that if you can afford to have a Roth IRA and you don't think you're going to, meaning that you meet the income requirements and you don't think you're going to need that money for a while, I can use my Roth IRA for something, and maybe I can use it for something that I'm not going to use for retirement. Because remember, all of my gains are tax deferred. I won't take my gains, but if I want to take out my principal and say use it for something like, I don't know, help to pay for college,
sure,
right? I could use it to help buy my second home. I can use the money that I've put into it, my principal, and I can use that money, and still have my gains be tax free. And be able to take it out without having to meet the 5-year requirement or the 59 and a half requirement.
So go back to your earlier example. So you get $30,000 in your Roth, that's principal.
Yep.
You get 30 that's in there, that's gain. You want to go beach house shopping down the Cape. You can take out $20,000 of principal.
Yep.
Put it into some other investment, if you will. So in this case, real estate, and the rest of the money stays behind. Now my question is, mechanically, how does that get reported? Because next year, I'm going to get a tax form.
Yep. So it's easy. So what happens is if you take any distribution from your Roth IRA, like Jay said, you're going to get a 1099 from whoever your custodian is who has your Roth IRA. So long as you have documented this is how much principal I put into my account, and your planner or your money manager should have that. It's very easy to have. This is how much principal. This is all principal return. So that goes back. That form goes back, or that letter goes back with your tax return. Everything's okay.
All right, so it doesn't come to you. So there's no, for example, when they do the tax reporting to you, there's nothing that says you've already sort of pre-indicated that this withdrawal is a principal withdrawal. It's really more on the back end. You're going to get the 1099 that shows a $20,000 IRA distribution, and then you have to turn around and say to the feds if they ask, or when they ask, hey, this is a Roth distribution. It's got nothing to do with it.
And that's the thing about it is, and all the forms that I've seen kind of growing up in the industry,
yeah.
there's no form to box say, I just want to take out my principal, which, oh, by the way, I can take out at any time. There's no, because, again, it's a retirement account. The custodian doesn't want you to start.
There's a general understanding of what you're using it for.
Yeah.
That's right.
So the idea that I can, so by doing that, let's talk about that a little bit more. So remember, you always want to think in terms of retirement is the primary purpose is for retirement.
Goal number one.
Yeah. So when I'm saving money and I want to say this money is for retirement, and remember when I get to retirement, if I have a big bucket of money that's tax free because it's in a Roth account, that's great, and it's going to be it's going to make my retirement that much more flexible and easy. However, because you have the flexibility of a Roth IRA that allows you to go take principal out if you need it or when you need it, you still have the ability to, any gains that you have in there, those still get to grow tax deferred. Now remember, if I take money out of a retirement account, a Roth, whatever it is, I take money out of it, that's less money that I'm going to have working for me.
Right.
That's less money that I'm going to have, down the road. That's less money I'm going to have in my account.
It sounds great. In the moment it sounds great, but then you start to calculate it out and you say, what's the impact of me taking this out? Yeah, it translates into real money.
Yeah. So, but and again, remember, all investments have a purpose. So oftentimes, if a client, what we'll do is we'll use a Roth IRA in place of a 529 or along with a 529 to save for college as just almost like a backup to the 529.
Sure.
So think about it. I'm saving for college, and let's say I save part of that money in a Roth IRA, or my wife and I save part of that money in a Roth IRA. So remember, any money that I put into the Roth IRA, I can take out. So let's say if our kid's going to college in 5 years or 6 years, but it'll be before we turn 59 and a half.
Right.
And so, my kid gets to college. This is how much college costs. This is how much they're going to pay. This is how much we're going to pay. We look at our college war chest and say, how much can we afford? How much can we pay? And we say, well, if we take $10,000 a year out of the Roth IRA.
Yeah, we've saved some money in the 529. This supplements
That's
that.
right.
Yeah,
that's right. So we can use that Roth IRA to supplement. Now, that's going to affect our retirement. It's going to affect our long-term retirement goals. But but there's no penalty and the's no tax implication.
Well, none of these no penalty, no taxes. But here's the benefit. The other thing is you can't go the other way, right? Is that right? Is that where you were going with this? You can't load up your 529 and then you say, oh my gosh, my daughter got a scholarship, right?
That's exactly it.
And I oversaved for college by $200,000, which never happens, but in the unlikely event that it does, right? Yeah. But what do we do with this 200? Let's put it in. No.
That's right. So that's exactly what I was going to say. So when I get to the college bill and my kid goes to the Air Force Academy, and you're like, okay, wow, well, that money that I was saving in my Roth for the last 5 or 10 years, it's
still there,
still rolling, right? And oh, by the way, it's tax-free down the end with all the gains. It's it's like whatever, like the bubbles and the balloons, like on your little app that go off there,
right? Just like on TV. Yeah, somebody shows up and hands you a big check. It's your own check. It's your own money.
Ed McMahon.
But that's right. They give you a huge check, right? And here you go. This is all the money you're not going to spend on college, right? That's right.
So again, it's a technique to enable you to you may end up spending it, but at the same time, if you don't have to spend it, then that money's in a Roth IRA.
Well, it's exactly where you want it to be, right? Yeah. You force the savings for college and retirement, and you get the best of both worlds because you didn't need it, and you just add it to the path. And to your point, you can't go the other way.
Yeah. So that's a great technique, is if a client can do that. And again, remember the income limits kind of can throw a monkey wrench in that. But as long as you meet the requirements, why wouldn't you do it? And the same thing with kind of using a Roth. So oftentimes, especially young people, guys, Christian, pay attention. So like young people.
Oh, you're just out of the gate.
Oh, they're like, well. They're like, what are you saving for? Well, I want to save for a house. I want to save for this. I want to save. Fine, let's save for that. Yeah. But if you can do a Roth IRA, do that with it, right?
All Roth all the time.
Because you know why? Because if, let's say, 3 or 4 years from now, when you're going to go buy a house, Christian, you writing this down? 3 or 4 years from now, when you go to buy a house, you say, I need $50,000 to put a down payment for my house, and I got $30,000 in one account, and I got $30,000 in my Roth, but I put in 20.
Yeah.
There I go. I can go get that principal. And for me as an investor, that's okay.
Well,
right?
We've talked about this before, right? So think about what you're doing. You're taking money out of a retirement account, which we always try to dissuade you from doing. But you're not taking it to go to Vegas.
It's an investment for an investment.
You're taking it to put into another investment. That's right. So, okay, great. You're diversifying your portfolio. You're building wealth, right? Yeah. You're moving down that path.
You know what you need? You need a good lawyer.
I love it.
You know what you need? You need a great estate plan right now. That's right. Because you are just making your estate.
Because now you got a retirement account. Now you have real estate. Now we get you a trust. Let's get this party started.
Okay. So with the last couple minutes, because we do have to wrap this up.
Jump, yeah.
All right. So let's talk about at the end, the Roth at the end. So when you get into your retirement years, right? And this is the best part of it. So you get into your retirement years, and it's time for me to retire. And everybody uses the bucket approach. I'm taking money from different buckets. I got my Social Security bucket. I got my pension bucket. If I'm lucky, I have my traditional IRA, my IRA rollover, 401k, whatever my taxable money. Sure. That's my bucket. I have some cash money that I've saved up. Maybe I've had a brokerage account for the last 20 years because on Money in the Law, Jay Marsden told me to get a brokerage account. I did, and here I am.
My favorite account, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I have a Roth IRA. I have a Roth. So when we go to do our retirement planning, we say, okay, how much our income plan, how much do I need for retirement? And then guess what? We dust off the old tax brackets. We say, hey, how much? What tax bracket am I in?
Yeah.
And you say, well, you know what? I could be in this tax bracket. However, remember, if I have money in a brokerage account, that money that's after-tax money.
Yep.
If I have money in a Roth IRA account, so now if I take, say, 20 or 30% of my income from one of these other accounts, and I can lower my tax bracket, that allows me to, A, not pay taxes on money remember, if I take money out of my 401k, and I allow that to stay in retirement accounts and continue to earn money tax-free.
Yeah, more compounding, fall longer. if you can fund your retirement, if you will, with other retirement resources, you leave that alone. Now you're building a legacy.
And God willing, if you get older and you hit age 79 and a half and you've been taking money from a Roth IRA in order to keep your tax bracket down, but now you got to take more money out of your IRA, and that's your biggest problem in life, is that you have to pay taxes on money that you need for income.
That you don't need.
Then you're good to go. Because remember, at that point, you don't have to take money out of your Roth IRA. We mentioned that earlier in the show. There's no required minimum distribution on your Roth.
Well, they can truly be the last money you ever tap into if you want to do it that way.
That's true. That's true. One thing to remember, though, and this is important. There is a quirk with the law. So we mentioned briefly about the Roth 401k. We're not going to go into great detail, but it's the Roth capability of your 401k. If you retire at age 70 and a half, or at 70 and a half or after, and you have a Roth 401k, you have to take a required minimum distribution. It's weird, right? It's weird. So, but there's a way around that. You can call up, what's that, Solaris Hill Investment?
Sure.
Yeah, you could call up or an investment or a bank or anything, and you can say, I'd like to roll over my 401k into a Roth 401k into a Roth IRA. You do that, and then you don't have to take a required minimum.
Bullet dodged.
Yeah,
Bullet dodged.
Really, like just past you.
Great stuff.
All right, so if you have any questions about the Roth IRA, come visit us on our website at moneyinthelaw.net, and we'll be happy to answer questions. If you want to have, we're talking about that, we mentioned the barbecue, where you could give us
it's winter. It's winter, so if we have to move this inside, that's fine.
We walk inside. The cooler's outside.
Yeah, of course.
We just grab that.
It doesn't cold. Yeah, you put it on the back porch.
And then back inside to talk about the Roth
after
IRA.
it snows. Yeah.
Nothing says Roth IRA more than like a Jack's Abbey Hoponius Union.
Ooh. Yeah. Let's talk about that. Yeah. All right. That's good stuff. I love it. Okay, close this out. I will. Yeah. All right. So practice really. That's a new thing. You're here listening to Money and the Law. Ready? Listening to
Money
and the Law.
You don't even know how to do it.
My FM 101.3. Keep listening. Send us some emails if you have any questions. We'll read them on the air. We may or may not call you out. And if you have any questions about the Roth stuff,
if your name's Ken Sawyers or Jason Smith, we will
definitely call you out. Absolutely. Absolutely.
We'll see everybody next week.
It's a great week.